I don't want this right now. I'll just delete this out. But I can go ahead, give a string. This is a string. I can go ahead, give an integer, a Boolean value, and all these things out here. And I can now go ahead and save this file. So this is how I write a JSON file in the form of a key value pair out here, as opposed to what I wrote here. This is a simple file. I just went and represented all these files, but a JSON is slightly different. I've written it in something known as a key value pair as such. Now what I'll do is, using the PowerShell, I now know that I have written the JSON. Using this particular PowerShell, I'll start reading the JSON file. So I wrote my JSON using Visual Studio Code. I installed Visual Studio, configured it, started writing JSON out there, and I now want to read this. Again, if you want to read it, get hyphen content, hyphen the path of the file, and wherever the file is. Now this is where the file was. If I go here into ATM file handle out here, I have a config.json. Copy this out, and I'll just say, okay, fine, this is config.json out here, and I'll run this out here. And as and when I run this out, this is now going to give me the entire JSON object. This is now my entire JSON object telling me what is the team name, what is, let's say, the dev RG and all these things out here. Any questions till here? Anything that I can take till here? Anyone? Anything that I can take till here?
Uh, Hello,
Good,
can you
please.
hear me?
Good, please. Yeah, I can.
Yeah. Is JSON being used by AWS and other cloud platforms also, or only our, Azure?
JSON actually is versatile. It's being used by GCP. Like you see any cloud provider, the base of the cloud provider would be a JSON.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. Any more questions here? But the question here is that what exact value did you add? Because the same thing I could have done with TXT also. Then why did, let's say, you went ahead and asked me to download this out and do all these things? Because I'm getting the same content out here. Yes, you get the same content, but with JSON, you can start playing around with that content. With a text file, it is very difficult to play around with the same content out here. What do I mean by this is that, let me do this. Let me say this is data is equal to something. So I said I'm putting a parameter out here called $data. I'm saying $data is equal to configuration.json. So what I'm doing is that whatever output that I'm getting from this particular command called get-content, I'm storing all that output inside something called $data. And if I hit $data out here, I get the same content out here. But again, this is a pure JSON format. This is just a JSON format. What I need to do right now, I need to convert this JSON into a language what PowerShell can, let's say, play around with, or PowerShell can really understand, PowerShell can really interact with. And the language with PowerShell, which PowerShell can interact with, is PowerShell itself. It's called a PS language or a PS object, PowerShell object out here. Then how do I convert this entire object into PowerShell? I'll do a pipe. So what I'm now doing is that I'm putting a pipe command out here, meaning whatever output that I'm getting in this particular command, pass it to a different command, and that different command would be something called convert from. Something called convert from, and I'll say hyphen. Now you see you have something called convert from CSV, XML, and all these things out. I want to convert this from a JSON file into a language that PowerShell can, let's say, understand. This is something that I cannot do it with a text file. A text file is a very simple primitive language. I cannot do the same thing with a text file out here. So if I do a convert from JSON, and once I execute this out, now let's observe what is the difference. If I do a $data, now I have a key value pair that is something that is coming right now. So it's telling team name, RG name, storage name, container name. So all the key value pairs that you have declared in the form of a JSON is now converted into a PowerShell language, representing it in the form of a key value pair. And even when you do a $data dot get type, so if I do a $data dot get type out here, It's a PS custom object. It is now called as a PowerShell custom object. So I now have a PowerShell custom object. What does this really mean then? I mean, what does it mean to have a PowerShell custom object is that if I just want the name of the team, I can say $data dot team name. I can call by that particular key called team name out here. And if I say $data dot RG, I get that particular RG. I can say $data dot storage account name. I can get the storage account and I can say $data dot container and all these things. So I can now play around with the objects that are there or that are declared inside that particular file. So what does this really mean is something like this. After writing $data is equal to something, I just put in something called convert from JSON. And once I put a convert from JSON, this is going to convert JSON into something called PS custom object, a PowerShell custom object, so that PowerShell can actually interact with your JSON content. And now what I'll do is I'll put in some write host statements. The write host name of the team is $of $data dot team name. I'll say write host RG to be created is $of$data dot RG name. So I'm using now the knowledge of Windows PowerShell, combining it with something like JSON, and I'm writing a couple of things out here. Okay, storage to be created is $of$data dot storage account name. So if I execute these things out, so if I now take this content and execute these things out, now do you see I have the input in the form of write host, and I now have the output wherein all the values are being substituted with the actual values out here called development dev rg and then storage account name as such. Now, what I can do right now is I can write an end-to-end script by using my, let's say, understanding of Azure PowerShell, and I can now say new hyphen az resource group. I can go create a resource group whose name is $data dot rg name. I'm now picking up, let's say, all the values from my JSON content. If you also wanted a location, you can also put a location in there. You can also put one additional key value pair called $location, or location is equal to something. In my case, I do not have a location, so I'm just going and giving a location, telling that this is East US 2. This is the resource group creation, and after creating the resource group, I could have said new hyphen az storage account. I could have said the resource group name again is $data dot rg name. I could have said the name of the storage account now is $data dot storage account name hyphen SKU name. I can also go ahead. I could have also given all the values like what is the SKU, standard LRS, what is, etc. in the same file that I had. So if you had all those things in the same file, let me also put that in. If you want the SKU, the location also, I can say location is ECS2. I can say SKU is standard LRS. Could have done something like access tier is hot. I can save this out. So now if I go ahead, let's say get the data once again, because I need to run this command once again because I went ahead and let's say wrote something else. And now if I look at these things out here, I can also do a write host. I can say it was $of$data dot the location out here. I can say the SKU. I can say $of$data dot SKU name. And what I can do is instead of passing a hard-coded value for the location, I can say $data dot location, and here I can say new hyphen storage account, all these things out, I can say the SKU here is not standard LRS, but it can say $data dot SKU. And I could say location here is $data dot location. I can say kind and access tier. Kind I can say just storage v2, and hyphen access tier. I can say instead of hot or cool, I can say $data dot access tier. So now I am not doing an implicit PowerShell. I'm doing an explicit PowerShell wherein I'm getting the data from the client, or I'm getting the data from my development team out there in the form of a JSON file. And as in when I got that JSON file, I converted that into a PowerShell language, and then I'm calling all the properties of the JSON in a PowerShell. And not only I'm calling, I'm also going ahead and creating them. So now if I execute this out, it's now telling the name, the RG to be created is something, and it went ahead created the resource group out here. And now it's taking all the properties from inside the JSON, and it is now starting to create the storage account for me as well. So it's now going ahead and creating the storage account for me, provisioning the storage account for me as well on the Azure portal. So whatever format or whatever, let's say, configuration that you have provided to me as a developer, I'm taking all that particular configuration, taking that particular configuration in the form of a JSON object, and I'm now ending up creating all these things for you. So I created the resource group for you. And when I created the resource group, I'm not passing the actual name, but rather I'm taking the name from that particular JSON, let's say, file that you have provided me. And also I'm taking the location from the JSON file that you provided me. And now I'm going ahead and using, let's say, the same logic that I have. Now to extend this further, I could have also done an if else. I could have checked whether that particular resource group is there and then went ahead and created it. Same like yesterday's logic. Create if it doesn't exist. Create if doesn't exist. If it already exists, then please throw a message telling that the RG or the storage account already exists. This is what I could have done using this particular format. This is what I could, let's say, go ahead and do using this particular format out here. And that's what I would ask you all to do. Is that can you do an if else loop on this one? Again, nothing difficult. Just get that particular, let's say, storage account, see whether the status is existing or not. If it is, don't create it. If it is not, please go ahead and create it. Do the same thing for storage account. Can you extend it for a container? Because now you have the container stored in this particular format out here called container name is equal to container one and so on and so forth. This is what now a JSON can do, meaning instead of I asking you to go ahead and parameterize everything, telling that okay, fine, pass it in a parameter. I'm rather now telling that you know what, you can do something better. Please pass all your parameters in the form of a JSON file. Give that particular JSON file to me. I will go ahead and I'll go ahead read that particular JSON file and go ahead and create all the contents out there. So this is what I can do. This is what I will do going forward out here. Yes, any questions till here that I can take? Anyone, any questions that I can take till here?
Can we create directly through JSON storage accounts or resource group?
Can you directly create it through JSON storage account resource group? If you do that, that becomes an ARM template, Azure Resource Manager template. That's what we will get into eventually. And Azure Resource Manager templates are nothing but an extension to JSON. That's the reason I'm teaching JSON first. From there, I'll go into the Resource Manager templates out there.
Will execute it successfully, right, Kiran? Like we can, what are the templates will get the ARM? We can
Mhm.
create, we can what do you say? We can create the duplications of whatever the data we needed as per the business requirement, and we
Exactly.
can execute
Mhm.
that, right?
Correct. You
It,
can do that.
our job is very easy in that case. Instead of going the syntax will miss us, right? Sometimes that's the case.
Mhm. Mhm. Correct. Correct. Our job becomes easy when you go through an ARM template. So that's the direction which I'm going into. Until now, we've been doing something called imperative syntaxing using PowerShell. We'll now start with something called declarative syntaxing using ARM templates as such. Yes, any more questions with this on what did I write? How did I write this? How did I get the content again? Just to give you a recap, I used a variable called data. I said get content. Now get content is to go ahead and read a particular file. So I did a get content and I read a file called .json. So if I just run this piece of code, I just get the raw JSON file out here. But what I did is that I didn't stop there. I wanted to go further and I want to, let's say, convert that entire raw format into a JSON format out here. Or sorry, into a PowerShell, into a language that PowerShell really understands. And now if I do that, I get this neat table right now telling what is the team name, RG name, storage account name, and all these things out. And what I did further is that using my PowerShell knowledge, I said I can call a particular property by data.teamName. Why did I do that? Is because now data.teamName is equal to development. Data.rgname is equal to devrg. Data.storage account name is equal to something like this. Data.container name is container1 and so on and so forth. Using that, I now went ahead, wrote new -az storage account. Now what I want you all to do is can you do something like status is equal to, and when you say get -az resource group, can you say the name instead of giving your name actually, can you go ahead and say data.rgname? Location is equal to data.location. Error action can be, let's say, silently continue out here. And now I can say if this particular status is equal to null, only then go ahead and create this particular, let's say, storage account, sorry, resource group. I can put everything inside this particular loop out here, telling please go ahead and create this out. Else, just give a write for statement, telling that that particular resource group already exists. I can say RG with the name data.rgname already exists. So I'll skip the creation. I can go ahead and do this. Can I do the same thing for storage account and can I do the same thing for a container is what I'm now looking at. So end-to-end script, which now reads not from a parameter, but rather from directly a file out here, which is given to you by a team like development team, and then going ahead, taking that entire file as a JSON object, reading all that particular objects, and then going ahead and creating those resources on the Azure portal. So once you see this, I went ahead, created this particular devrg, and I also provisioned something called as a dev storage account inside that particular resource group out there. So this is what I did and on an end-to-end basis as such. Any questions here, guys? Anyone, any questions still here that I can take?
Hi Kiran,
Anyone,
can
any
we?
question?
Is it
Good.
same with other format as well?
Yes, it's same with other formats as well, but what you need to do is that let's say if you have a CSV file, let's say if you have a comma separated file out there, what you need to do is that instead of saying convert from JSON, you probably need to say convert from -CSV, or you have let's say an XML format, you can say convert from XML and all these things out here. So it's the same, but for a text format, you cannot do a convert from text. There isn't something known as convert from text out here. It will fail. So JSON, CSV, XML, YAML, and all these things out, which are serialization in nature, you can use this convert from command to go ahead and let's say convert it from a JSON into PowerShell so that you can start dealing with those objects out there.
Can
But
we do
most widely
reverse,
used.
Kiran?
Can you do reverse? Good question. Definitely
Means
yes. You can also do a reverse. Yes, you can do a convert to JSON. Meaning, if you write something in PowerShell, you can say convert to hyphen. You can say JSON or HTML or whatever it is. You can convert to and also convert from. Convert to meaning you are going ahead writing a JSON using PowerShell. Convert from, you're just let's say going ahead and reading a JSON from PowerShell out there. Getting it? Yes. Any more questions here, guys?
Hello, sir.
Good, please.
So I sent the email regarding that data blob uploading for container.
Sure. You sent it on an email, is it?
Yes, sir. I scanned the error and
Sure,
also the script screenshots and also the file.
sure, sure. I'll just take a look at this and I'll respond back. So let me check. I didn't really get the email yet. I'm just waiting for the email to come in. This is the email address that I want you to send out at gmail.com. The one that I posted in the chat section out there. I did not yet get the email, but once I get the email, I'll just go ahead and respond back to it.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, any more questions here, guys?
Yeah, Kiran.
God, please.
Yeah, actually, I got message from that office. Said 14th also one batch is there. Is there batch you only taking or any other?
Yes, we are starting a new batch on the 14th, so I am taking the 14th batch.
Same content and mean same course?
Same course, yes, the same course.
Oh,
It's Azure Devops. That's the only course we are right now offering. So that's the only content. I
okay.
mean, the same content is being delivered out there.
There I saw something training and placement. Something I saw online.
Mhm.
In this course also there like a training and placement or only?
Same thing. I mean, every course that we are doing is a training come a placement course out there. So there is no
Okay.
differentiation between one batch and the other. Same thing. We are offering the same thing out there to any batch that gets started or any batch that got ended and all these things out.
Okay.
Yes. Any more questions, guys? So what I want you to try is that please start out with JSON. Just go there, write, let's say JSON out there. Before 20th August, can we complete the course? Not really. It will extend beyond 20th August. I would say it would, let's say, be something like the end of August is what I'm, let's say, targeting out there. So before 20th, no, I won't be able to complete the entire course before 20th. I have a lot of content to cover. So again, I cannot, let's say, rush things out. So I'm just going, let's say, one thing at a time. So before 20th, no, just to answer your question, I will give you, let's say, a tentative timeline when it'll get over. Just give me some time so that I can calculate this and, kind of send that out to you. Again, what you need to practice out here today is try writing JSON, very basic JSON out here. We'll improvise this particular knowledge. We'll understand how to, let's say, write multiple objects inside JSON and all these things out. Try writing a simple JSON. Try approaching it using a very simple script. On firstly, how do you read this? Just try till here. After that, see if you put something called as convert from JSON, how will it get converted? And once it gets converted, check out, let's say, kind of to a write host and all these things out, see how it gets out, and then you can write your end-to-end scripting. So this is what I'm expecting from you all today. Once you do that in tomorrow's session, we'll extend this knowledge of JSON, understand how do you put multiple objects and how do you read from PowerShell, how do you iterate over multiple objects, and from there we'll extend our we'll extend our JSON knowledge into the ARM template. We'll understand how do you, let's say, use ARMs from that particular JSON, what are those and all these things out there. So that's going to be the agenda. How can we upload a blob in a reusable concept? In a reusable concept, again, if you want to, let's say, upload a blob, you can just go ahead and give a blob out here, name of the blob out here. The same, let's say, command called set-az blob content, but with an additional parameter called force, so that if you give in new blobs, it'll just ignore the older blobs that are already existing. Or you can also do a get-az blob content to see whether the blob is already there. If it's there, don't upload it. If it is not, then you can go ahead and upload the same thing out there. So you can reuse your script either by using a -force parameter, or you can just go ahead and, let's say, do a get-az storage blob, see whether the blob is already there. If it's there, ignore it. If it's not, upload the same thing out there. Yes, anyone, any more questions out there? All right, so
How
please
many
Yeah,
days
practice.
can
the,
when we want
Sorry, one at a time, please.
when we
hello,
want
sir.
to
I still
create
don't
a
know. I
new
still not.
Sorry,
when we want to create a
one
same
at
new storage account with the same resource group name,
mm-hmm.
so we shouldn't get any error, right? In else statement, we gave as origin already exist.
Right. We shouldn't get an error. Like
But
it's not an error. It'll just tell
mm,
that this is RG is not existing. And I mean, the RG is already existing. In the else, we said RG is already existing because it already does. What you can do
yes.
after this is that just go ahead, use the same data.rg name to create your storage accounts as such. So shouldn't get an error. You can reuse your storage account. So you can reuse your restart groups. Yes, someone else
No,
had a
I
question.
didn't
I'm
get
sorry.
that given. I didn't get that.
This one, wherein I said new hyphen AZ storage account.
No, we gave RG with the same with the name already exists, right? And
Right.
if they want to create a new storage account within the same
Hmm.
resource group, this
Okay.
this doesn't work, right?
No, this definitely works. This definitely works out here. When I am doing a data.rg name, let's say, for example, you don't change the RG name, you change the name of the storage account out here, right? So let's do that. It's something like store ps json, something like this. I change my name of the storage account out here. My RG is already there. So I can now go ahead and run the entire script once again. So now it just goes ahead, checks for the RG. It's telling RG is already existing. But after that, it is taking the same RG name and going ahead and creating that particular storage account out here. It's not throwing an error. It's just reusing the same thing out here because this is declared outside the else loop. So it will, I mean, rather than, I mean, it will go ahead and let's say check whether this is there. If it's there, it won't create the RG, but it'll still go ahead and create the storage account. That's what it's doing right now.
Okay. Okay.
So
Yeah,
it went ahead
Kiran.
created this one. Uh, Guys, I'm a little top of the hour right now, so it's already let's say 2 minutes past 9. So please park your questions. I'll take it in tomorrow's session. We'll start tomorrow's sessions with the questions out there, and we'll address those questions and go into the session. Is that okay?
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, guys, and have a good day ahead.